The fastest white sprinter ever recorded, the reigning world champion who just shattered a world best, and an 18-year-old phenomenon many believe could become the next Usain Bolt. Three completely different stories, three very different paths, one fascinating race. Most people are focused on Noah Lyles and Gout right now, and honestly it's easy to see why. On June 16th at the Golden Spike meet in the Czech Republic, Lyles stepped onto the track for the rarely contested 150 meters and delivered something special. Across from him stood Gout, Australia's teenage sensation whose name has dominated sprinting headlines for the past 2 years. For the first time ever, the two met head-to-head. When the race was over, Noah Lyles crossed the line in an astonishing 14.67 seconds, setting a new world best for the distance. South Africa's Sipho Dambal followed in 14.78 while Gout finished third with 14.96. Just like that, Lyles added another historic performance to his resume. The track world exploded. Social media couldn't stop talking about Lyles. Fans couldn't stop debating Gout. But while everyone was watching those two, another sprinter was quietly forcing his way into the conversation. His name is Sam Blaskowski. And his story might be the most unbelievable of them all. Just weeks earlier, on May 30th at the Music City Track Carnival in Tennessee, Blaskowski produced a performance that shocked the sprinting world. He blasted through the 100 meters in 9.89 seconds with legal wind assistance, becoming the fastest white sprinter in recorded history. A record that had survived for more than a decade was suddenly gone. But the time itself isn't what makes this story remarkable. It's where he came from. Unlike many elite sprinters, Blaskowski wasn't developed inside a powerhouse Division I program with endless resources and national attention. He competed at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, a Division III school where athletic scholarships don't even exist. He won national titles. He dominated at his level. Yet almost nobody outside the sport knew his name. After graduation, while many future stars were training full-time, Blaskowski was working shifts at a small regional airport, trying to save enough money to keep his sprinting dream alive. Think about that. Less than a year ago, he was clocking in for work. Today, he's running 9.89 seconds. That's the kind of jump that sounds more like a movie script than reality. Eventually, he made the leap to Florida and joined Dennis Mitchell's Star Athletics training group, the same elite camp that includes stars like Sha'Carri Richardson and Kenny Bednark. From that moment on, people inside track and field began paying attention. Because suddenly, Sam Blaskowski wasn't just a feel-good underdog story anymore. He was becoming a legitimate threat. For a brief moment, it felt possible to imagine him standing on the same starting line as Noah Lyles and Gout, not as an outsider, but as an equal. The airport worker. The world champion. The teenage prodigy. 3 lanes, 1 race. And that's where things get really interesting. Going from a personal best of 10.05 to 9.89 is already the kind of improvement most sprinters spend years chasing. But backing it up with a 9.91 against one of the deepest fields of the season, that changes the conversation completely. That wasn't a lucky race. That was evidence. Evidence that Sam Blaskowski may have finally arrived. And the scary part, his story might just be getting started. Because when you look at where he is today versus where he was just 12 months ago, the gap between promising talent and world-class contender suddenly feels much smaller than anyone expected. Still, reality has to be part of the discussion. If this dream matchup ever happens, Blaskowski enters it with the least experience by far. He's only 23 years old. He's been competing at this level for less than a season. Meanwhile, Noah Lyles owns Olympic gold, multiple world championships, and a resume that most sprinters could only dream about. Gout has spent years under the spotlight, carrying the expectations of an entire generation of track fans. Blaskowski. He has one breakthrough performance and a growing reputation. That's it. And in sprinting, talent can appear overnight. Consistency takes years. That's why the biggest question surrounding him isn't how fast he is. It's whether he can stay there. Did Tennessee reveal the real Sam Blaskowski? Or was it simply one perfect afternoon where everything came together? Nobody knows the answer yet. And that's exactly why people can't stop talking about him. But while the spotlight has been fixed on Blaskowski's future, there's another athlete in this story we haven't fully examined. The teenager everyone keeps comparing to Usain Bolt. Gout. Let's talk about him. Back in April at the Australian Athletics Junior Championships in Brisbane, Gout claimed another national junior title with a winning time of 10.21 seconds in the 100 meters. For most 18-year-olds, that's extraordinary. For most athletes, that's extraordinary. But when you place that time beside Blaskowski's 9.89, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. 10.21 versus 9.89. That's a gap of 0.32 seconds. In everyday life, that sounds tiny. In elite sprinting, it's enormous. It's the difference between challenging for a title and watching someone disappear down the track. Read those numbers again. 10.21. 9.89. The athlete being called the next Bolt is currently chasing a man who was working at a regional airport not long ago. That's the statistic almost nobody is talking about. If those two lined up tomorrow based purely on current performances, the clock says Blaskowski wins. Not because of hype. Not because of opinions. Because that's what the Times say. And that leaves only one name standing at the front of the conversation. Lyles. The benchmark. The champion. The man everyone else is still trying to catch. Let's not forget that Lyles ran 9.88 this season in Rome. That remains faster than Blaskowski's best. He is the Olympic champion. He has proven himself on the biggest stages in the sport again and again. One breakout race doesn't erase years of dominance. But here's where things become fascinating. Lyles is 28 years old and operating near the peak of a career built over more than a decade. Gout is still developing physically and learning the professional game. And Blaskowski, he's barely begun. He's only recently entered an elite training environment. Only recently gained access to world-class coaching. Only recently started competing against the sport's biggest names. If he can drop his time this dramatically in less than a year, what happens after another season? What happens after another 100 training sessions? What happens after a full year inside one of the strongest sprint groups in the world? That's the question nobody can answer. And that's what makes this story so compelling. Imagine it. One lane occupied by an Olympic champion. One lane by the sport's most exciting teenage prospect. And one lane by the former airport employee who bet everything on himself. Who wins? Right now, everyone has a different answer. So I'm curious. If these three lined up in a 100-meter final next season, who are you putting your money on? Lyles, Gout, or Sam Blaskowski? Leave your prediction below. Because something tells me we're going to revisit this debate much sooner than anyone expects. What makes this even more incredible is that all three arrived here in completely different ways. Lyles built his legacy through years of dominance. Gout was identified as a future star before most people knew his name. And Blaskowski, he wasn't handed a shortcut. No scholarship changed his future. No viral moment launched his career. He worked ordinary shifts, saved every dollar he could, moved across the country, and gambled on a dream that most people would have abandoned. Now he's sharing conversations with Olympic champions and world-class sprinters. Maybe that's why this story resonates so strongly. Because beyond the records, the rankings, and the stopwatch, it's a reminder that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the people